Welcome to the Disney Parks Podcast with your hosts, Tony Caselnova from DisneyByTheNumbers.com and Parkhopper John from WDWParkhoppers.com. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast at all times. And get ready for the Disney Parks Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great show for you. We have a very special guest. You might have seen her on The Voice. You might have seen her on a cruise, but I'll bet you as a Disney fan, you've definitely heard her voice. She is the female lead for the brand new Happily Ever After song featured in the incredible new nighttime fireworks spectacular at the Magic Kingdom. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Angie Keilhauer. Hey, pal, how are you?
Hey, I'm in sunny San Diego, so it's a good day. It's been going well for me so far.
All right.
That's great. We're in rainy Florida right now, so, you know.
Oh, no.
That happens.
Yeah. It's, 3 o'clock time from the parade and time for a little shower.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about Florida is I feel like it's just like 90% of the time it'll pour, but then it'll stop, you know?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it doesn't last long.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
That's what's nice about being, if you're a tourist in Florida, everybody leaves the park because they're like, oh, it started raining. They start to leave. And then the people, like the locals or the people that know Florida, just stay and wait it out, like in the castle where they all play to move, but just stand there anyway.
Right.
And then afterwards, the park is empty and you have the whole park, you know?
That's spoken like a pro. I think that she knows what she's talking about, my friend.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and like how you got started. I thought I read that you started out as an engineering student. So how did you get from engineering student to musician?
Yeah, well, both my parents, we moved here to Georgia when I was young, when I was 11 years old. I used to live in El Salvador, and my dad, his biggest thing was always like, be educated. So we all me and all four of my sisters, we all made great grades going into college. And two of my sisters went on to be engineers, and I ended up getting in the same school, Georgia Tech, and I started following in their footsteps. After my second year, though, I was exhausted because I was working full time and going to school, and I just could barely do my music thing, which is I would only do it maybe 2 or 3 times a month at bars on the weekend. And I was really tired all the time. And finally I was like, you know what? I need to figure something out where I can make enough money to buy a good car and a good PA system and actually go on tour. And that was my dream. And I don't know where I got this idea from, but I was biking to work one day and it started to rain. And I just immediately thought, I'm going to sing on a cruise ship. And that's how I'm going to make the money I need to start like this little music business venture, you know? And I don't know where I got I'd never even been on a cruise ship, but that happened. And that was my first time, playing full time and calling myself a full-time musician was on cruise ships. That was about 4.5 years ago. And I've been touring full time ever since.
What, cruise line were you on?
Carnival Cruise Line.
So we had on, probably about a year or maybe more, a guy who used to work on the Disney cruise ships doing it. And he said it was awesome because he only had to perform, he only did his stuff at night. So he had the whole day to do whatever he wanted and then just, played a couple hours a night and that was it. He was done. And he got paid, as much as all the other entertainers on the ship. Was it kind of similar to you, that experience for you? Do you have most of the day free and you only entertained at night?
You gotta get what you can from it. And I wouldn't change my experience on the ships for the world. I think it's what gave me the edge over a lot of other people that are going after the same thing. It's a really competitive industry, but having the background behind me where I have played 4 hours every day, months and months and months at a time for different crowds. You just cannot get that kind of just workload anywhere else without an incredible more of emails and booking and all that was out the window. And all I had to do was show up with my guitar and that was a gift. But at the same time, Carnival Cruise Lines, it's not necessarily an entertainment industry. They have stockholders, they're business, they're a cruise ship business.
Right.
And so they aren't exactly in the mindset of we want to do what's best for the performers, or we care more about how great the performance is. They're more like they want to get what they can out of their performance, which is entirely, it makes sense. It's what their business line is. So they had us playing for very, very long hours. And it was very taxing on the vocals. So like, I don't know how, I thought some other musicians really kind of enjoy themselves and take time off. But for me, who was primarily a YouTube musician who learned how to play guitar on my computer at home and was desperately trying to learn all the songs I had to learn, I was having a hard time with my voice. So the first like 2 months on the ship, I would wake up and I couldn't even talk. Like wow. It was just so sore. It just hurt. And that could also be because I wasn't a classically trained musician like a lot of them are that come on the ship. But there's a give and take. Like it is definitely one of the only career paths where you only have to work 4 hours a day, which like that was just great benefit of it. But at the same time, for me personally, I couldn't take advantage of going out and, going and drinking with friends or going out all the time because if I talked, my voice was just ruined. And I actually ended up having to have vocal surgery after my third contract.
Wow. So you're on the
incredible because you're stuck with all the same people and you end up have lifetime friends all over the world. I mean, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine who was a super talented saxophone player, and he signed up for some cruise ship gig for one summer because he's a school teacher, band director, but he was also a saxophone player. And it's like I showed up on the first day and I had my assignment, show up at this place and you're going to play with this band, and like there's no music. And he just sat down and it was like the band leader said, "Autumn Leaves, A flat, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4." And he had to think, okay, Autumn Leaves. How does the, in jazzer terms, how does the head of Autumn Leaves sound? And it's normally in like A, so I got to make it A flat. But I mean, by the time all that's happened, they're already through the first
halfway through the song. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a harder lifestyle. That it does have great benefits, but it is trial by fire. You are working. You're usually in front of a lot of people who are drinking, especially on Carnival Cruise Line, which they're a great cruise line. Don't misunderstand, but it's difficult. It's not it's a difficult lifestyle. I feel for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny you mentioned that because I just find it so crazy about my story because I'm telling you right now, like I get this call. I had played on the weekends at honky tonks and smoky bars, but then I get this call, and I'd been trying for months and months to get any agency to kind of notice me, to hire me for cruise lines, any cruise line to notice me. I finally get this call. Somebody quit. They need me to be in Miami in almost like it was like 2 weeks, and I had to get a medical done and all this stuff. So I show up. I'm a girl. I swear. I just learned to play guitar on YouTube. I never have a guitar lesson. Just write my own songs in my bedroom for the most part. And I show up with like not even a real suitcase. It's like a duffel bag with like duct tape on it. And I even tried to get on the wrong cruise line at first. I tried to get on Norwegian. That was really embarrassing. But I'd never been on a cruise ship before. I didn't even know there'd be more than one there. So I get on the ship, and honestly, I wake up every day thinking they're going to figure out that I'm not a professional musician and they're going to kick me off the ship. And what's crazy about it is exactly what you said. Like the people on the band, I played alone. It was just me and my guitar. That was my job. So I knew how to wing it for me. But the people in the band, like they have to play with each other. Those are some of the best musicians to this day. And I played in Nashville, LA, New York. To this day, the best musicians that I played with, at least like in my top 5, 3 of them have been on cruise ships. Like they're just that good. So for me, I just felt like I was just hiding. Like I was like, I need to make as much money as I can before they kick me off. And that's my goal. And what's wild is like, it was the first time that I woke up was when I was flying back, from that first 6-month contract. And this woman was sitting next to me and she goes, "Hey, so what do you do for a living?" And I was like, "Oh, I play guitar and I sing for Carnival Cruise Line." She goes, "Oh, you're a professional musician." And I must have had like the goofiest smile because she gave me the strangest look. And I was like, "Yes, that's exactly what I am." So it's just so funny to me that like, I was just in this place where I was so uncomfortable. And that's exactly where I found everything I was meant to do,
That's awesome. So let's continue your story. You're on the cruise line. You get done with I'm assuming you get done with your contract on the cruise line. What's next? Get us to The Voice. How do you go from sailing to TV?
Well, my first 6-month contract happened, and I had a good amount of money, and they immediately wanted to offer me another one. I was like, no, I need 3 months of tour. I promised myself I would do it. So I take all my money and I spend it on a car, like a used car, and a small PA system. And I just started booking what I called a bar tour. And I did it from the Florida Keys all the way to New York, just bars, like $200 bar shows, one after the other, like nonstop, all the way up to New York and back for 3 months. Actually, I think the first one was 2 months. And I ended up actually not making money on that. There was a lot of things that went wrong. The stories I would tell you are like painful as much as they are funny. But then I was at a place where I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting to get back on cruise ships. But I was like, I am like broker than broke. I need to get back on cruise ships. So I call and they put me back on a ship. And so I started thinking, I was like, how can I grow my audience with like before I go on my next tour? So then I start putting up more and more YouTube videos, and I make myself a promise I'll put up one every week. So instead of like people that went out to like beaches all the time, like I was in these Chinese restaurants, like in the Bahamas, like for hours at a time trying to upload a single video on the Wi-Fi. And one video that I happened to put up ended up going viral. And Kenny Chesney had thought it would cover one of his songs. And to this day, two people on his marketing team are some of my best friends in Nashville. And that video is what got seen by someone from The Voice. They invited me to audition. Prior to this, I had auditioned for The Voice 3 times, never even made it past the first round. But they invited me to audition. I was like, yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I alter my schedule around it. I fly myself to the only city that I can make after my contract. So I have about $1,000. It's like $600 to get there and audition. And they were like, okay, you made it through. We'll invite you back in 3 months to come back to LA. But we can say no at any time. And so I thought for sure I was going to at least get back to LA. I guess I was naive, but I had canceled 2 months of tour dates. And for me, you think $200 gigs aren't that big of a deal, but these bars, they book like 3 months in advance. So me canceling those meant there probably wouldn't be an alternative. So I canceled those 2 months. Couldn't tell them why. But I just told them it's something big. And they ended up calling me the day before I took the flight to LA and say, actually, never mind. We're not going to actually invite you back this year. And I was so bummed. And I remember the second that I got that email, I don't know what was inside of me, but before I could even handle the pain of it, I immediately emailed back that, can I audition again? And I did the whole process over again. Like, despite the fact that I went 3 months, like having to scramble and like work at farmers markets and kids' birthday parties, just to get by. And I did the whole process over again. This time I got through. I got 3 chairs to turn, and I was on the show. And it, people just see that one episode of you singing and someone turning. And the reason why I really like telling the story is because I know that there's someone out there listening to this podcast right now that's like, man, I feel like a failure because I just messed up this one time. But like, the thing is, like, the only way to succeed is to guarantee yourself that no one moment is going to define your life. You know what I mean? And I was really lucky to just keep going and find that out for myself.
That's truly incredible. Yeah. One of the things that I do outside of the Disney stuff is motivational life coaching, that kind of thing. And I say a lot of the same things that you say over and over again. It's just the people, there will be people one day that look at you and go, you know what, it's got to be so fulfilling to just, overnight, just boom, here you are, and you've done these things. And then in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I've busted my butt for years, and then especially in music, I come from the music world. I come from that background. Actually, I come from your neck of the woods, from Atlanta. I'm an Atlanta boy. And I know a lot of the same story. I just went down a different path and did not pursue it. I was not a front person. I still am. I'm a drummer. But to hear you talk about that, and you're right, there's going to be people here, and in the Disney community, there's a lot of people who want to do things even that's related to Disney, and they're, I just don't think I can do it, or it's just, don't let a failure define you, because the next day or the next minute you can pick right back up and keep plugging along, and you are an incredible example of that. I mean, the struggles that you went through, you went from, learning how to play guitar in your bedroom to, sailing around all over the Caribbean and probably other places, to being on TV, to now you're literally going to be heard, if not already, by millions and millions of people associated with Disney. And you're so young, your career is just getting started. That's so awesome to hear that.
Well, thank you. The opportunity with Disney was also so special for me because the theme of the song is happily ever after, like reach out and find your own. And what I think is so interesting is so many musicians, that I honestly think could be even more, like way more talented than I'll ever be. They have this attitude of like, I can't do something that's beneath me. Like I can't go play a bar gig and play cover songs. I can't go on a cruise ship and play music for people that aren't really paying attention. The thing is, like, even the biggest opportunities in my life, they've come from that stability, that foundation. Like, the whole thing with Disney happened because the guy that hired me, that worked for Carnival Cruise Lines, ended up moving to Disney, and he saw how hard I was working, and they wanted two big celebrities for this song. But they had already chosen Jordon, and his voice was hard to match. And he's the one that, like, pitched me and like really kind of said, like, I think this girl's voice could work really well. He brought me in, we did this song, and he gave them a couple different options, and that's how I got chosen. Despite the fact that I am not at the status of the other people that were competing with me for the same spot. And I still don't know those names or anything, but I know that they were all much more high status singers. The only reason I got it was because I took every opportunity, and that's the way to get ahead when you don't have, like all the resources that you feel like other people have been given. Like at the end of the day, hard work is going to maintain your success over everything else.
Going back to The Voice just a little bit, tell us what it was like working with Blake, because on television he comes off as a very funny person. I can't imagine what he might be like in real life.
Yeah, Blake is, he's exactly what he seems like on TV. Like, he's the same person. And that was such a relief when I met him. I remember specifically one moment, it was I think my battle song. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't super crazy about it. And I was kind of stressed because I didn't know how to make it me, like how to make myself feel really comfortable singing it, And so I was like writing down all these notes and really just thinking. I was really in my head during the rehearsal. Finally, rehearsal ends, and Teresa walks up. She's my battle partner. She walks up and was talking to Gwen Stefani, who was the advisor. And then I'm like scribbling stuff down on a piece of paper. Blake walks up to me, and I didn't realize he was walking up to me. And he walked up and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I look up, and I'm just, going over my notes and making sure I have everything written down. And he pulls the paper from my hand. And he says, "You need to have some fun tonight." And he just walks away. "Where's my paper?" "Oh, all my notes." It's like, no. I was so mad at the time. I'm not going to lie. I was like, this guy is going to ruin me. And that night I ended up staying up until like 3 a.m. and just singing and jamming with all these amazing, incredibly talented humans. And to this day, it's my favorite memory from the whole show. Like, even above singing on the stage and meeting all the celebrities, like that night of just total harmony and music and art was hands down probably one of my favorite memories for the rest of my life. And it reminded me of something. And that's why I chose him as my coach. Like you've got to remember what inspires you if you want to make art. And the second you forget that, you stop being good, And
it comes across on television that he sincerely seems to care. He's not just.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he's not just doing it, because, well, it looks like it'd be fun, but, just to also then, beat Adam every year. But it actually looks like he really cares about, the people on his team. Yeah,
you definitely right with that.
So let's go ahead and talk about, you already started telling us a little bit about how Happily Ever After came about. Tell us about that process. Jordon pitched you and you got selected. From then on, could you tell us kind of what happened? We're fascinated to hear how someone goes from, hey, I'm going to do a song for Disney, to we're watching it inside the Magic Kingdom. Can you walk us through a little bit of that process?
Yeah, so it wasn't Jordon that pitched me, but his name is Roger Butterly, and he used to work for Carnival Cruise Line, one of the head music director guys for Carnival Cruise Line. And I'd only met him once ever. He really was really took the time to listen to everybody, and he ended up hearing about my story, and I didn't know that he would remember me at all. But what he told me now is he remembered how hard I was working, and that's why he gave me a call. He actually had called me before, and I did the 24-hour event, When You Wish Upon a Star remake last year. He had called me in for that, and I went in and sang it. And then he called me again, and he was like, hey, I have this project I'm working on for Disney. Can you come in and just sing on it for me? And I was like, yeah, sure. And what's crazy is, I don't know why I was so happy to do it, because it was I had 2 days off that entire month from touring. The rest of the month, I was very literally in a different city almost every day. I mean, it was no sleep month for me. And I was my 2 days home, and my girlfriend is hugely into Disney, thank God. She was supportive. And I just, hopped in my car and drove up. I had maybe 3 hours sleep. And I was just happy to do it. I really liked him a lot. I thought I was really respected him as an artist. And so I just went up there and I sang the song for him. They didn't really ask him why, because, I could tell he couldn't really tell me. Then I drove away, happy as can be. I didn't hear from him for a couple months. Then he gives me a call, and he pretty much just starts the conversation with, what would you do if I told you? And then he tells me what the actual project is. And I was freaking out. And if that wasn't enough, the fact that I was just going to be a voice in this immensely enormous project that was being recorded all over the world. But on top of that, they were going to fly me and my girlfriend and bring my entire family, and I have a big family, into the park, watch us perform it live.
Wow,
that
that's awesome.
To me was that was the epitome of Disney, of no, this isn't just about you. It's not just about, how excited we are. We want you to celebrate this with the people you love the most. And that's something I'm grateful for Disney for the rest of my life.
That's so awesome.
That was a great, yeah.
The Disney Parks blog put out a video, which has probably been seen a bazillion times already. But, in that video, they're showing, you and Jordon, recording next to each other. Was that actually the way that happened? Because we know that, from a lot of the, the movies that they do, it's just, one voice in a, voice booth, just recording, the same thing over and over again for hours. So where did the recording take place, and were you actually in the same room?
So that room is actually, it's Studio A at Capitol Records in downtown LA.
Okay.
So it's a really big, they have a big live studio room, and most live studio rooms have separate, clear booths that are off to the side. And so we were technically in the same room, but there was a booth. We were separated by glass, but we could see each other. So we sang right next to each other and sang it together. Because I think that's part of the magic of the recording, actually, is we were really feeding off each other's energy during that whole recording. But when we wanted to do the video, we found that it was hard because the lighting inside of the other area was different than the lighting outside. So we had them set up this place where we could actually that we were in the same place. So there was no, they kind of make it look like we're separated through the glass, but it's kind of more like a set that they created. But when we actually recorded the big parts of the song, we were physically separated in separate rooms, but it was the same Studio A. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, because usually I would think, for sound quality, they're not going to have you standing in an open room next to each other.
Yeah. You don't want any bleed.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you? I'm assuming that you've seen the show. What was it like standing in a Disney park, watching the fireworks, listening to your voice sing a song back to you?
Man, I think the first 5 minutes, I was just totally in awe. And I just couldn't stop watching all these people looking at this castle with because the first time I thought I wasn't performing, I was just there. I was there the day before. I was sitting next to all the Disney guys, some of the head Disney executives that have created the math and the science behind making that castle looks so spectacular. And it really does. I mean, it's unlike anything I could have even imagined. And I saw the live stream and it was still just jaw dropping. And so the first 5 minutes, I'm just like blown away. I'm looking at all these like thousands of people watching this. And then all of a sudden I look to my side, and these are like adult men that have like professional guys. And I just look at them and they're just like kids. Like they're just so excited. And it just made me realize like this thing, like this is just like the people that made this thing, like this show, are just the smartest and the best at their craft. Like they are artists through and through, like genuinely and truly proud of what they are able to create and then what they are given permission to create. And this whole project is hands down some of the biggest projects these guys like have and possibly will ever do. And to them, they were just over the moon, just watching this. And this is probably their 16th, 17th time watching the show. And it was just so cool to see these guys that were just like, I hadn't seen them like broken down in that way, but they were just like children all over again. And it like really made me see the magic of the show, I think.
That's crazy.
While you're doing the recording, did they, show you like what this was going to be? There was going to be fireworks. It's going to be projection. Did they kind of tell you, or you just sung the song and then they put it together and then you saw the final product, with your family in front of the castle?
Yeah, well, they did like explain, because I asked a lot of questions because I obviously came from kind of a math and science background. That I was really curious as to how in the world they made the castle look flat from every angle, like not necessarily flat, but the same. You can't see like underneath the veil, so to speak. Like right. Every angle looks just as great. So I was very confused as to how they managed to do that. So I got a lot of explanations on the lasers, and I mean the technology that they use. It's top line. I mean, nobody else has it. These guys are completely innovators in every sense of the word. So in that way, I really got to understand more and more about it, which just made me kind of fall in love even more. And then we also got some behind the scenes tours of the castle and a couple other different places in the park. But yeah, it's just, I'm just so blown away by like the level of talent. I mean, every person just in the orchestra, in the chorus of this song, they're the best of the best. And I just feel like I'm this small cog and that I'm just happy to be there and doesn't really know how she got there.
Yeah.
Well, I think we know, just hearing your story, I think we know how you got there. It's just one of those things. As Disney would say, it's just fate that brought you to Disney. So the one thing, I had this great question till now on my mind. Oh, yeah. So not for any spoilers, but is there a desire or a plan for any future Disney projects?
Yeah, well, believe it or not, Disney Music Group owns Hollywood Records, right? Mm-hmm. And they're actually thinking about making another label in Nashville for country music. And what's really nice about that is that, it's just, there's a lot of talks going on. It's a very slow process, but there's a chance that I think regardless of who I end up signing with or who I end up working with, I think I've become very good friends with a lot of the people that work behind this stuff, and they know that I would be honored to work regardless of the details on anything Disney. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if there's an opportunity, I don't even care like what needs to be done to make it happen. I'll be there. Like Disney to me has and will always be one of my biggest supporters and biggest parts of my story. To me, I feel like I owe them the world, and any project I can ever work on with them, they want me to do, I'm there 100%.
Yeah.
Wow. So that begs the question. We kind of touched it just a little bit on the front end. Were you a Disney fan before? I mean, when you guys were living in Georgia, that's not a very far drive down here to the Walt Disney World. Did you grow up with Disney any more so than the average kid?
I'm a pretty huge Disney fan. I grew up, I was born in El Salvador and I moved to Georgia when I was 11. Between when I was born in 11, me and my four sisters, my parents, every 2 years or so, we would all, my first trip to the United States was to Disney World. And my parents, when we moved to Georgia, we had like a decent amount of means when we lived in El Salvador. My dad made the decision to move us to Georgia for safety reasons. He ended up losing his job in the 2008 recession, so things got a lot harder. And I still, I never saw them complain once, but they did find a way to take us, not as often, but to Disney World a couple times. And it's just, as I got older, now I live in California, I'm an annual pass holder, and I go probably once a month. But I think the coolest part of growing up with Disney and then this happening is that, like, it's the same park. Like, even though, like, the rides get better and, like, the things are more epic and the magic is more all over you, when you walk into the park. Like, it's always even a more spectacular experience. But it's always still Disney. And the castle is always still a castle, So it was definitely cool to, like, perform on stage in front of 65,000 people. Many of them probably from out of the country, just like I was when I was a kid. And, like, have my parents in the crowd and know that they, like, worked their butts off just to give us this experience. And then now I get to show them, like, what they did, And I get emotional, like, every time I think about it. But that was a really cool, like, it was cool having Disney part of my life for so long and then being able to, like, come full circle in that way.
Did you have, when you're recording the song, did you guys have any input into, the song? I'm sure you were handed lyrics and music, and you said, "Hey, can we change this? Can we do this?" Did you want to change or modify the song in any way?
Yeah, it was really cool that they they're very creative people, and at the same time, Disney is a very particular brand. That they needed, like, the reason why Disney has stayed Disney over the course of 30 years is that they're very strict on, like, what can be called Disney and what it's always a long process to get anything approved. But what was amazing is throughout all that red tape, they never once said we don't want your opinion. Never once. Right. And there was a couple of times Jordon and I looked at each other and were like, what, I think I'd like it better if we tried this run on it. And even if they ended up saying no, they would always let us try it. And they always let us, like, they always, like, said, like, they want to try this. And they always respected our opinions, which I thought was amazing, considering the fact that, if they probably had a better idea than we would, whether or not something would get approved, but they still let us try anyway. So they're very open creatively in that sense. And me and Jordon didn't write any of the words. It ended up being written by, I think it was like 3 or 4 people altogether. Mm-hmm. But they did give us a lot of creative space to kind of move the notes around and build it in a way that we felt was more natural and right. So I was really grateful for that. And I was honestly really surprised that they gave us that much flexibility.
Well, that's good. I mean, at least you had some kind of input to kind of, make it your own.
Yeah, that was really nice.
So I guess, Tony, you have any more questions?
No.
Well, the one thing that we would like to do is to ask you, how can people find you online? And are there any places that people could come see you perform live?
Yes, I perform about 17 shows every month. I live in South California, but I play, from coast to coast pretty much every month all over. So if you want to find my tour dates, just check my website, angiekeilhauer.com. That's AngieKeilhauer.com. You can also find me on every social media platform, from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, all of it. All you have to do is type in my first name, Angie, and the first 3 letters of my last name, Kei, and the rest will come up. So just remember Angie, Kei, and you will find me. And if you send me a message, tweet, and Instagram, a comment, I read everything, and I love hearing from people. So introduce yourself. Let me know what kind of music you listen to. I'd love to meet you.
I recommend going to her page. That's how I found her. And she's got videos there and music, and you can find all her content there. And it's really it was great because I kind of just, let your videos just play since you have them in like a playlist. So it was great.
Yeah. I've got quite a few things on that site. So anyone that's interested in my music, I'm always more than grateful for when people take the time to do that. So
Yep.
hopefully y'all like the rest of my stuff.
Yeah, and we'll link you all that stuff up in the show notes so people can find it there. But we want to thank you for coming on and telling us this your great story and your journey. From a cruise ship to, hey, maybe someday you'll go on a Disney cruise ship and maybe you won't have to perform. Maybe you can do a little performing and a little relaxing. So you never know, right?
Hey, now we're talking. I like that.
So, hey, Angie, thanks for coming on. And, we wish you all the luck. And we hope to see you in a park doing some other stuff, too.
Oh, I have no doubt. Y'all need to get to my coast on the West Coast.
Yeah, we'll have to. Well, we love Disneyland. We love Disneyland, so you never know. All right,
I like that. Well, maybe I will see you in the park.
Yep.
Y'all take care.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you in the parks. Have you ever come to Orlando and you're the person that has to make all the dining plans, all the fast passes, get all the tickets? Well, we have a service that can help you do this. This is the best service. They are themeparkconcierge.com. You can call them up at 407-257-9973. Tell them your plans. They'll send you a little profile, get some information about you and your traveling party and what you want to do, what you don't want to do. And then they can set up a custom plan for you. And they'll take you around the parks. They'll make the dining plans. They'll get the fast passes. They'll take you to Walt Disney World. They'll take you to Universal. They'll take you to Busch Gardens, to SeaWorld, to Legoland, to all of those places. And they will do all of the work for you. Contact them at themeparkconcierge.com. Check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/Ramon VIP Concierge, or email them at ramon@themeparkconcierge.com. I am telling you, you will not be disappointed. And if you tell them the Disney Parks Podcast sent you, you'll get 10% off your order.
The Disney Parks Podcast is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company. All Disney parks, attractions, lands, shows, event names, etc. are registered trademarks of the Walt Disney Company.
Like a boat out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through.